Hello, welcome to Wrestle MSX. I'm Michael.
I'm Sally.
The Street Profits beat Pretty Deadly and retained their tag titles.
Piper Niven and Alba Fire beat Kayden Carter and Katana Chance.
LA Knight versus Braun Strowman ended in a DQ after Jacob Fatu interfered.
Charlotte Flair beat Michin.
Drew McIntyre beat Randy Orton.
Jimmy Uso beat The Miz.
And Punk, Seth and Roman signed their WrestleMania contracts. Now, if you really want to know what happened, stick around. Punk got his wish.
Naomi goes Wyatt 6.
And Drew goes through a car. We kick off with Cody, and after telling us he'll be seeing Cena on Monday, he gets interrupted by Randy Orton. He said Cody was frustrated as a younger wrestler, so left and changed the wrestling business. He mentioned Cody's match against Seth and spoke about going to WrestleMania to face Roman Reigns. To cut a long story short, Randy says he loves and respects Cody and is proud of him. But when the smoke cleared and the dust settled, Orton says he wants to go after number 15. Orton then points at the belt and tells Rhodes he's coming for this. Whose music should play then? None other than Drew McIntyre's. Drew questions what Orton has done to deserve a title shot since he's been back, which is a fair point, before telling him to get to the back of the line. Drew then addresses Cody, telling them that everyone should have listened to him about Cena. Drew says he should be the one facing Cody, but he isn't because of the guy liner wearing Timu Undertaker, Damian Priest. Drew then enters the ring, telling Randy it's not going to be him that takes the title from Cody, but him, if that makes sense. Orton tells Drew to cut the BS, with Drew adding that on the outside Orton looks jacked, but on the inside he knows Orton's back is hanging by a thread. Drew then turns back towards Cody, but Rhodes kicks McIntyre and attacks him, with Orton going for an RKO. Drew escapes it and rolls out the ring. Don't forget, don't subscribe while you're here, as it really helps the channel. And don't comment either.
Next up, the Street Profits versus Pretty Deadly for the WWE Tag Team titles. We start with Dawkins and Wilson, but soon descend into all four men in the ring, with the Yes Boys coming out on top. We come back from a break with Prince and Ford tagging out, and then watch Wilson escape an early blockbuster attempt before levelling Dawkins and hitting the Bad Apple Gunbuster, having tagging in Prince for assist. Elton covers, but only for 2. Dawkins hits a spinebuster and tags in Ford, who proceeds to climb the top turnbuckle and hit his frog splash. Only Wilson gets back in the ring and rolls into Prince, moving him out of the way, thus taking the frog splash full on. Mm-hmm. Prince then hooks Ford for a pin. It gets a 2, but really great work from Deadly.
Yeah, very good. Elton then gets a double teamed, with Dawkins making the cover after blind tagging Ford, but only for 2 as Wilson made the save. PD then take out the Profits as all 4 attack one another, with Deadly hitting Spilt Milk on Dawkins and getting a 2 count, with Ford saving. PD go for another Bad Apple Gunbuster, but Dawkins catches Wilson and tosses him over the ropes, with Wilson skinning the cat. Dawkins clears out Prince, goes back to Wilson, who's just pulling himself back over the ropes and ending up on Dawkins' shoulders. Dawkins tags Ford, who climbs up, hits a Doomsday Blockbuster, and then covers Wilson for the 1, 2, 3. Street Profits retain their tag titles.
We have a clip from earlier in the day with Zelina Vega speaking with Katana Chance and Kayden Carter. As they're talking, in walk Alba Fire, Piper Niven and Chelsea Green, and after a little back and forth, we end up with a match. Chance and Carter against Fire and Niven, which coincidentally is next.
Before that match, we learn of something new the WWE are bringing to the Hall of Fame. Great matches, calling them immortal moments. The first match being inducted is between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret Hitman Hart from WrestleMania 13. We then see Reigns arriving with Paul Heyman before we get back to the wrestling. Now, just on a side note, I think this is an excellent idea. Putting fantastic matches into the Hall of Fame, and it also allows them to then bring back wrestlers, because I do believe later in the show they say that Stone Cold and Bret will be at the Hall of Fame. So it's a reason to bring those wrestlers back to the Hall of Fame. just so people can see them again. Because once you've kind of been inducted maybe on your own, Triple H, obviously he's going in on his own. He's been inducted as part of DX.
Yeah.
But then that would be it for him. I mean, he's not going to be inducted as the, not the Superpowers, the Power Trip, when he teamed up with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Then those two aren't going to be inducted as a tag team. But after he's gone in with DX and after he's gone in on his own, there's no reason to bring him back. But years and years down the line, there's no doubt 1, 2, maybe even more of his matches will be inducted, and therefore he will be invited. Yes, I know he plays a big part in WWE, but it's a reason to invite him back once again, sort of like Stone Cold. Once you're in, well, why do you need to bring him back? Now it's part of Immortal Matches. Brilliant idea.
Chance and Carter versus Secret Hervice. Green out as well.
I forgot I was doing wrestling. Sorry, I was off on a tangent there.
Double KC get an early 1 count on Fire before Niven cannonballs them both from the apron as we hit a break. When we come back, Carter is taking it to Fire, even getting a 2 count cover, before Fire blind tags unbeknown to Carter. Carter goes for another pin, but Niven comes in with a senton, missing Carter and landing on Fire. After a little sloppiness, we get the cake stand, with Chance covering for 2, Fire making the save. Chance and Carter then exchange tags, with Green then distracting the ref and Chance getting involved. This allows Niven to push Carter into Chance, knocking her from the apron, with Niven then hitting Piper Driver and covering Carter for the win. After the bell, the Secret Hervice beat on Carter, with Vega running out for the save. She makes the save, fights with Green and sets up Code Red. Fire comes back though, super kicking Vega, with Niven then landing a senton for good measure.
Secret Hervice, oh dear. Next out, LA Knight defending his US title against Braun Strowman. Strowman overpowers the smaller Knight to begin with, even big booting him when we end up outside the ring. We come back from the break and we're back in the ring with Knight bulldogging Strowman from the middle rope. Knight back suplexes Strowman on the 3rd attempt, drops the elbow and covers for 2. Knight looks for BFT but gets pushed away and sent out the ring by Strowman, who then looks for the Express. As Strowman's about to collide with Knight, Jacob Fatu from nowhere lands a spinning back elbow on Strowman, with the ref immediately calling for the bell. Fatu then attacks LA before Samoan dropping Strowman onto the announcer's desk and then throwing him back into the ring. As Fatu sets up for a hip attack, Knight heads back into the ring and starts laying into him. This fails as Fatu pop-up Samoan drops Knight, which was picture perfect by the way, before hip attacking Strowman in the corner 3 times. Fatu also lands 2 moonsaults on Strowman before heading back up the rampway. Now did I or did I not allude to this in one of our shorts? Go and check it out.
Backstage, Jackie Redmond with Jimmy Uso, but before she can get a question in, Jimmy says Jay's in Gunther's head, before saying he'll beat him on Raw and his brother will beat him at WrestleMania. Jimmy heads off but comes across The Miz and Carmelo Hayes. Miz tells Jimmy he's not going to beat Gunther and neither is Jay, adding that he and his brother were just blips on Roman's bloodline. Jimmy says he'll go talk to Nick Aldis and get a match made so he can go against The Miz.
We come back from a break to see Solo Sikoa asking Jacob what he was doing out there earlier. Fatu shouts back, with Solo telling him to lower his tone. Fatu says when it comes to Braun Strowman, he will be the last man standing. And that he's bringing the US title home to the family, with or without them. Is that a hint at a WrestleMania match with LA Knight?
We then see a vignette from Naomi with Wyatt 6 vibes. Go watch it and you'll see. She says she's always done the right thing and can't understand how Jade's come out of nowhere and taken her place with Bianca. Naomi's done with feeling underappreciated and she tells Jade to keep out of her way. We then cut to Jade Cargill talking with Nick Aldis, asking where Naomi is. Aldis doesn't know, with Jade then walking off and coming across Michin and B-Fab. B-Fab tells Jade to do what she's got to do, with Jade wishing Michin luck for her match against Charlotte later.
We see another smoky vignette with a number 4 in Roman numerals as well as a snake. Well, it looked like a snake. I can't see how that marries up with Aleister Black, as that's what people think, but there you go.
Up next, Michin versus Charlotte Flair. B-Fab with Michin. As Michin and Fab are posing for the camera, Naomi comes from behind, attacking both women and then X-Factoring Michin. Naomi smashes B into the announcer's desk, with Jade Cargill then heading out for the save. Before she can get her hands on Naomi though, the Glow Star runs away through the crowd. Jade and the ref then help B-Fab up the rampway. As they do, Charlotte Flair heads out. As Cargill gets to the top of the rampway, she and Flair have a little stare-off, before Flair then continues towards the ring. The bell rings and the match starts. Charlotte big boots Michin, covering for 1.
I didn't even think, well, I thought that would have done it.
Yeah,
But it didn't.
yeah.
We continued. We hit a break, we come back, and we find the pair exchanging blows, with Michin hitting a tornado DDT and then covering for 2. Flair fights back, looking for a top turnbuckle move, but Michin turns it into a sit-down powerbomb into pin for 2. Michin then manages to get a meat defeat on Flair, with Flair getting her foot on the rope to break the follow-up cover. Flair rolls out the ring, resting on the ring steps, with Michin going for a kick. Flair avoids the kick, with Michin kicking the ring steps instead. The beginning of the end is nigh, as Flair then attacks Michin's knee when back in the ring before locking in the figure 8. Michin taps, Flair wins.
Backstage, Jackie Redmond is with Tiffany Stratton. And again, before Redmond can ask any questions, Stratton speaks. She says that if she loses at WrestleMania, then she's lost to Charlotte Flair, the legend. Whereas if Flair loses, then she's lost to an undeserving, delusional little girl. Good point. Well made.
Next up, Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre. McIntyre starts well, but then gets overconfident, allowing Orton to get in mounted punches before we end up outside and Orton back body dropping Drew twice onto the announcer's desk. Drew rallies, fights back and sends Orton into the ring, focusing his attacks to the Viper's back. The two then end up exchanging blows in the middle of the ring, with McIntyre coming out on top and covering for 2. Drew then Irish whips Orton into the corner, but Orton bounces out, clotheslining McIntyre and then snap slamming the Scottish Warrior down to the mat.
We then get a draped DDT and the RKO set up, but something catches Orton's eye. Kevin Owens is on the rampway. Orton focuses on Owens, allowing McIntyre to regroup and hit the Viper with a Claymore. Drew then covers the Dazed Viper and picks up the victory. After the match, KO attacks Orton, looking for a package power-driver on the announcer's desk. But Orton manages to break free, setting up a punt. Owens gets away though, jumping the crowd barrier and heading off through the audience.
I was lucky. We see another vignette for Rey Fenix, who's coming to SmackDown next Friday, before we get the last match of the night, Jimmy Uso versus The Miz, the match everybody wanted. Pretty even to begin with The Miz probably just shading it. And then we get this locked in for about 50 seconds before The Miz works the crowd, so you don't miss much during the break. But when we do come back, The Miz is down, so I have no idea what happened there, with Jimmy clotheslining, kicking and punching The Miz, followed by a Samoan drop. Pin moves are then exchanged, with Miz hitting a DDT for a 2 count cover. We see the It Kicks and then another cover for 2 by The Miz. Miz then springboards into a super kick, with Big Jim then Uso splashing The Miz, covering and getting the win. After the match, Jimmy gets on Joe's mic and tells Gunther he's going to demote him to a private on Monday, which is quite funny.
That was good. We see Drew McIntyre backstage, and after greeting Lewis Capaldi, he speaks with Jackie Redmond. Drew says when nobody gets involved in his business, he wins. Kevin Owens. Drew says he called out Damian Priest last week and he's a no-show, not having the cojones. So he's now off in the town to have a few drinks with Lewis Capaldi. Drew heads off through a door, but who should be on the other side? Of course, Damian Priest. The two men fight and end up on a car bonnet. Priest comes out on top though by putting Drew through the car window screen with the South of Heaven.
Ouch.
Nice.
Lastly, we have the contract signing between CM Punk, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. Nick Aldis is already in the ring and then invites Reigns out. The crowd sing, Roman Reigns. Anyway, you get the idea, with even Paul Heyman joining in before saying he came here for 2 reasons. 1, to be acknowledged, and 2, to sign the contract. He signs and then out comes Seth. Seth says they have history here, but they did accomplish their mission. Roman cuts him off and says, we died a long time ago, and it's only been him that's done all the work. Roman claims he's the one that took the company to the level it is today and the one that made them, as in WWE, desirable to Netflix. He then asks Rollins what he's done. Seth doesn't actually answer that and blames Roman for letting the biggest snake in the world into the garden, meaning CM Punk, of course. Seth adds he's got to clear up Roman's mess again before signing the contract. As he does, it's then that we hear CM Punk's music.
Punk gets in the ring, sits down and starts to thumb through the contract, with Reigns telling him to hurry up. Heyman then comes over to Punk and tells him he knows what he's looking for, and it's in there. Heyman then tells Punk he'll be closing the show at WrestleMania and he will get to live his dream. Punk wells up, Roman laughs and says one man's dream is another man's favour, with Seth saying he doesn't deserve it, and that it's sacred to main event Mania. Pointing the finger and blaming Reigns and Heyman. Punk thanks the fans as they chant his name, with Reigns interrupting saying he should be thanking him, and to thank him right now. The end titles then roll, with over a minute to go. So whether it ended there in America, I don't know, but luckily for you, we saw what happened.
Oh, we're going to tell you.
Punk thanked Reigns, adding that because of him, he will see him in the main event of WrestleMania. Punk then signed the contract and thanked Reigns again before saying that's not the favour that he's owed. Heyman pulls a face with Punk dropping the mic as SmackDown goes off the air.
So, what is this favour? Don't let us know in the comments. But I told you that they'd close the show.
Oh, yeah.
Go and check out the music. I think it was in the Musings video we did.
Yes.
Links in the description below. Now, to be fair, Heyman said closing the show at WrestleMania, which is open to interpretation, as it does sound like the Sunday night show, because that closes it. But it could be either night. But surely they've got to have Rhodes and Cena closing Sunday.
You'd have thought so.
That's the big one.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one we want to see.
And obviously now you've got Jacob Fatu interfering in the US title match. I mean, Knight's not bothered because he retains.
Yeah.
It's no skin off his nose. He's going to fight Strowman. Jacobs took him out of the equation. LA Knight's like,
I've
still got my belt. I ain't bothered. But I'm still going that's going to be Knight, Strowman, and Jacob.
Fatu.
Yeah, Jacob and Solo.
Solo, sorry, yeah.
Triple four-way, fatal four-way.
That's
because Strowman will complain to Aldis and say, "Hey, that was my title shot," and Jacob will say, "Well, I want to fight Strowman," and then somehow Solo will get involved.
Somehow, yeah.
And then it'll be like, "Okay, fatal four-way," because
Strowman
will want his title shots, he'll get it.
Yeah, I'll keep you all quiet.
But Jacob wants get his hands on Strowman, and he says, "I'm going to bring the title back to the family."
Yeah.
See, I told you in the Musings video. Go check it out. As I said, link in the description. Don't comment though.
Any thoughts or views you'd like to share, then please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below.
Or don't. Don't forget to go check out the Musings that we did mention for our thoughts and opinions on last week's WWE. A new one drops every Wednesday. Thank you again for watching.
And we'll see you Tuesday for Raw.